Welcome to part 4 of my new oil painting where I'm really challenging myself to add depth. So I mentioned this in the first few parts, but what I mean by that is just creating a few shadows and starting to have more of that shading and finding depth in the colors. So when you look at it, you know what angle that I want the viewer to be looking at from. And you also kind of can see a bit of the 3D aspects. So there's definitely going to be a lot of parts where that isn't really achieved, but I want to make it a main focus of this painting, especially using oil paints. I can do this at kind of any stage of the painting. So the first few aspects and doodles that I did, I tried to add some of that shading, so I kind of know where I want the shape to go. And what's nice with the oil paints as well is I can go back and change it or make it darker or lighter in certain spots. I'm also learning that for some of the darker colors like purple, instead of using black to kind of highlight it, I'm using white to make areas brighter and then create depth that way. And it's been a lot of fun to try this out. I still want to have the same kind of trippy, chaotic, abstract style as all my other paintings, but I think this will add to that cool kind of vibe of the paintings when you can see the 3D aspects to it. So it's kind of cool to try and do that, even if it's very subtle in some parts. I'll be happy with this one if there's at least kind of 3 or 4 main aspects that really achieve that, and if there's some other parts that, you know, have that little bit of dimension and that feel to it. I think that this is one of those things that if I have a bunch of small little details where depth is added, that it'll really add up. And when you look at it, you can look at the painting a lot longer and see kind of different things within it. I'm using a lot of bright colors in this one. I mentioned in one of the previous videos that because I'll be adding the shadows to it and kind of darker lines, I want to start with a lighter base so I can add darker colors to it. Now that I'm kind of halfway through, I see that I didn't really need to do that as much because the darker ones I can just make brighter with some white, but I still like the kind of color palette of the brighter colors, and it's been fun to mix it. So I'm going to use about kind of 4 different shades of green, 4 different shades of blue. The reds are all different because I like to either add some black or some white just to change it up. I find that's kind of a cool way of being able to use the same color more than I usually would in a painting and kind of create that difference with it so it doesn't look like there's way too much of one color. It's kind of fun too because I'll mix a color and sometimes I'll know that I won't have that exact mix again in the painting, so I try and make sure it's in a few spots. I find it's kind of odd if there's just a color that I used only once in one spot of the painting. So I'm just making sure that if I do have a blended color, I blend enough and add it in a few spaces spread out in the painting so it does kind of look more natural that way. I like using this pink. I find it's a good color that I can add the dark lines to, and it really creates that 3D style that I want. It's kind of nice because it blends into a kind of pink gray, and I like working with it. It kind of brightens up some spaces, and it's a good base color to add other colors on top of it. So I like using it throughout the painting. It's another one of those colors that I can mix at a few different times and give it a different feel depending on how much of the black I mixed in or how much of the white I mixed in. And it looks really good against the blue and the green. And I haven't been using pink a lot up until a few months ago. but I really like the way it looks. I also like using this red, especially with the pink. So I'm just learning a lot more about what colors that look good together. And I think that'll go well when I start doing a lot more of the depth work that I'm doing. Now I'm going through and filling in some spaces that don't have any colors. I'll probably go and fill in some of the smaller spaces. There's still some large spaces that I want to do some more doodles on. So I'm just trying to kind of see what space I have in the painting. I really want to make sure that I'm not forgetting the kind of main challenge of this painting, which is adding that depth and creating that kind of dimensional feel that I want. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind as I'm filling in some of the open parts. I'm not too sure what I'll do with the background colors. Like if there's already a shape and I'm just filling in the background behind it. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to make that 3D and kind of make everything 3D, or do I keep the background colors flat? And that way I think the aspects would be able to pop out and stand out more. I feel like that's what I'm gonna do. And maybe I'll do some blending to have it where the background color as it's further away gets lighter. But depending on the part of the painting, it might not work. So I'm just gonna kind of see where this painting takes me. I wanted to use a little bit of red here. I know I have a lot of red in the background, but I'm going to be adding more in this stage of the painting, and I'm also going to be using some orange. I really like the orange because you're able to blend it and do that shading quite easily. I find the orange and the yellow is nice for that. It's kind of funny because when I first started oil painting and I didn't want to have any blending with the lines, I didn't like using the super light colors because they would blend, and it's kind of funny that now that's exactly what I want. So it's kind of nice that I started off with the oil painting earlier and learned how the paints worked, even if it wasn't working to my advantage, because now I kind of know how the paints act and how different colors blend with each other. And I can use that to give it the feel and look that I want it to be. As I'm going through and I'm seeing some open spaces, even if they're small, I'm trying to do some more little shapes and ways to connect the painting to other parts. Sometimes in these paintings I have some really detailed parts, but a few parts that look like they were missed or rushed because there's just kind of an open space with one color. And I really want to make sure that that's not the case. I want to have in every little part of the painting something to look at. I don't want to make it too busy, but I think that there's a cool look and feel to a painting when even the open parts that are meant to be more simple still have some type of texture or something that kind of leads your eyes to the next part of the painting. Now, like I've mentioned in a lot of my videos, I will be the first to admit I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's part of the fun. But I'm just trying to kind of do things that I'm looking at from the perspective of someone looking at the painting. And when I look at it, what do I want to see? And what kind of cool parts do I like? And a lot of it is seeing other parts of paintings that I really like and things that other people liked about it, and seeing if I can kind of implement that and keep growing on those little parts of the painting that kind of add up to make it one of those pieces that you can look at for a long time. So I'm kind of going through now, and where I'd usually be doing a lot of the lining with the sharp, clear edges, I'm doing that, but I'm also adding more depth. So for a lot of the light colors that are colored in, I'm having the brush with just a little bit of black on it and doing some shading. And I want to do these lines on the road and have those 3D as well. So I'll go through kind of now until I'm done the painting. Near the end of my painting session of the day where I'd usually do lining, I'll do that and just continue to have more depth in these parts that I want it to. There's some parts that I've been looking at for a while, and I realized that I really don't like the way they look because I kind of did the shadows wrong, or I did them opposite to where I wanted them to go. They're not always going to be the same way. That's kind of part of what I want to do. I want to have the painting kind of go against some of those things, but I want it to be on purpose. So some of the ones that I look at and they just don't seem right, I'm going to go through and fix. And again, that's the beauty of the oil paint, because you can really just be blending it a little bit every day. So I'm continuing to go through and fill in some of these open spaces with colors that I've blended. And like I mentioned, I like to, if I have a color that I only blended a little bit of, do it in a few different parts just to make sure that it looks consistent. And I'm also doing some of that extra lining and shading just to really kind of give a few of the main aspects the direction that I want them to go in. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's looking so far, and I'm going to end this part here. So thank you for watching, and I'll post the next part soon.